Super excited. Good morning, everyone. This is another episode of Talia Talks. My name is Talia Rodriguez. I have the privilege of hosting a digital space and really excited to be speaking with someone who embodies, the leadership and the civic engagement that we like to highlight here on campus. I'm going to give my guest the floor to introduce herself, and we're going to get into talking about her leadership and all of the ways that it's expressed.
Hi, Thalia. Thank you so much for allowing me this space. I am just so excited. The way we connected and the way we met each other is absolutely incredible, right? The powers of social media really do work miracles. So I'm Kayelani Vasquez. I am the CEO and founder of Boss Babes and Brunch, and we are a female identifying networking event experience. And what we do is we bring female entrepreneurs together in a space that feels comfortable, allowing them to represent their authenticity or bring out their authenticity and stay true to exactly who they are. And so we're going into our third event, and I'm just super excited. And thank you so much for having me here.
Yes. I'm so excited. I definitely want to say that I think that building community is civic leadership, and I'm so excited to talk with you about the different ways that you do that very deliberately and the ways that that may look different in different spaces. So I'm wanting to stay disciplined. As you know, I'm growing my interview practice myself. So my second question in my series always is if you could say some of the institutions that you are in community with, or the places that you were educated, or a little bit about what your experience was like as a student.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a student through and through, I was born and raised in New York City. So, I did go to high school in New York City. I went to Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis High School. And then later on in life, I decided to continue my education in communications. And started attending SNHU online. I am a mom of one 10-year-old daughter. And so, while navigating the space of motherhood, as well as being a wife to my forever sweetheart, education was something that I kind of, in full transparency, put on the back burner for about 10 years. And then I picked it up again, and I'm still continuing my education in communications while building my business, while being a mom, while being a wife. So wearing all the hats. But yeah, I love it.
I'm so proud of you. Having the ability to pursue education online is super important to Latina entrepreneurs, whether it's upskilling, whether it's attending workshops like yours. I love that you're a living example for all of us. I attended SUNY Empire State back before, I always say online education was a thing. So people used to tease me and be like, you're not really in school, but that gave me the opportunity to intern and to work in the courts and learn a little bit more. So I'm so excited for you to talk about your LLC, your business, and kind of like the community building that comes through your business. So do you want to talk a little bit about when you decided to found your business and kind of the circumstances in which inspired you to do so?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll take you a little bit on a journey of how Boss Babes and Brunch was curated. At the height of the pandemic, my husband was furloughed from his job. And so just in trying to keep afloat, right? Just the same way the rest of the world was trying to do. We were all trying to see, okay, what are we going to do next? Where do we go from here? How do we maintain a home still while going through all of this? So I started what was called Collections by Lani at the time. And it was an e-commerce business where I would basically make t-shirts and mugs. Actually, this mug, I don't know if you can see it, but it's one of my creations.
I love it.
Yeah. So I started making those. I was a self-taught e-commerce business. I used Shopify, that platform, and it was really great. It worked really well. My mission was always to connect with women, and it was especially Latinas, especially female entrepreneurs. And through Collections by Lani, that's exactly what I was doing. I then left my 9 to 5. I was working in corporate for 7 years as a pediatric care coordinator for the state of Connecticut. And I then said, you know what? I am ready to leave. This is like my way out. Collections by Lani is doing well, and I can see myself really going far with this. So I left my 9 to 5 and pursued full-on entrepreneurship back in the beginning of 22. I want to say January 22. And the summer of 22, Collections by Lonnie wasn't doing so well, I started vending at other like events and selling at pop-ups. And I realized that there was a need in the community for more. And what was that more? I hadn't figured it out quite yet, but I always had a passion for speaking on stages. I always had a passion for connecting with women. And like they say, when you speak to the heart, you speak to everything. So I then said to my then business partner, why don't we start a networking event and just bring women together? Like, what's the worst that can happen? So we held our first event in November of last year where we had 50 women join us. And I thought that was incredible. I said, 50 women, oh my, this is absolutely incredible. The name Boss Babes and Brunch was, curated, it was created, it made sense, it flowed, it was everything we wanted it to be. And after that event, I said, let's continue. Like, we've got to keep this going. There's a need in the community and women are asking for this. They're yearning for this. So in May of this year, on May 7th, we held our second event, and that event brought out 215 women.
Kayelani, no. 250, and was that in Connecticut?
That was in Connecticut,
oh
yes.
My goodness. And also, you were a pediatric core coordinator. That's why you can handle all of this. When you said that, I snapped like, okay. So,
Yes.
this is where this is coming from. That's incredible.
Yeah. So 215 women. And at that point, I said, my faith is heavy in God. And I said, this is where it's at for me, right? So I just continued and I said, all right, I'm going to bring this back to my hometown now. Going solo after our May event, I gained full ownership of Boss Babes and Brunch, became the CEO and sole founder of Boss Babes and Brunch. And now going into New York City, I was born and raised in Midtown Manhattan. It makes so much sense for me to go back home. And we're expecting 150 women, which is
And
crazy.
then can I say where you are?
Yes.
So I'm in Buffalo and I know that you're trendy. So you're in Dumbo where like everything trendy and everything fun and everything vintage and everything is right now. That's so fun and amazing. It must feel like a victory lap to bring this type of community building back to your city and the connectivity, I think, economically between Latinas in that tri-state area of Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New York. I think we have our own like kind of microeconomy, but it's so incredible that you've been able to gather people in those numbers. I have a million questions for you personally because a lot of what you're talking about kind of outlines some of the things that my friends and I have been doing here. Like kind of for fun as hobbies, not at the level and scale that you're doing or the level of professionalism. So I am totally in awe. Thinking about your next event and the one that you're planning after it, who are the people that you want to collaborate with? I was so excited to list the folks that you invited on LinkedIn and the power in doing it and just seeing their identities, Kayelani, that was transformative in itself. So I know the brunch is going to be amazing, but looking forward, do you have a list of women who you're like, I'm really excited to build with, or that you want to mention with this event coming up?
I mean, the list goes on, I think, with the women that I would love to collaborate with. I would say any woman who's open to the idea in building on her community and lifting women up and staying true to authenticity and all that means for them, then I'm game. I'm open to the idea of having anybody. In a dream world, if I'm being 100% transparent and candid, I would love to have an opportunity to sit with either J-Lo or the Kardashians, just because I feel like when it comes, from a business standpoint, J-Lo being Latina from the Bronx, born and raised, it's huge to see how much she's transformed just in her career, and through all her boss moves, basically. And then in terms of the Kardashians, from an entrepreneurial, again, mindset, they have incredible businesses. And I'd love an opportunity to sit and just have a chat with them and also offer them a platform to really connect with women in the community in that way.
Yeah, and I definitely have a response. And just in terms of my personal opinion, as the facilitator of the show, I think that values based business is something that really represents a lot of our neighbors and the way that our neighborhood here in the West Side and in New York City and many places is operated. And I think when I think of the two families that you mentioned, I think of Kim's work in criminal justice reform and how she's used her business and the business opportunities that have been afforded to her to fight, along with other people in that arena for justice and kind of like how that's a balance. So I'm so excited to talk about just from my lens, right, the economic connectivity that
Mm.
is almost some ways intrinsic and immeasurable. And I was like on a meeting yesterday with, I think, Wells Fargo and the Association of Latino Accountants, I think, but they were talking about like intrinsic value and like things that we want to measure but we can't. And I think about all of those businesses when they come together and they meet each other. Kaylani, how do you try to measure your impact? Do you see those businesses relationship blossoming into other products and into other businesses? And like what is that like? And kind of how do you understand your impact? Because I think it's just tremendous. I think I just restated my question, but I'm in
Yeah.
awe of you.
Yeah, no. So I think the way I measure my impact is really by the repeat. Like if I have women who have attended the first event and then come back to now the third event, that's a measure in itself, right? Also, I really, really do in terms of like numbers, looking at my analytics on social platforms. That's something that I measure and I keep a really close watch on. So, Instagram being my most used platform, I read the analytics and see how many people are coming over to my page. And while we're not a huge page, right, we don't have thousands and thousands of followers yet, I will say that the traffic and the, I guess, viewers that we have on our Instagram page and any given day is over 1,000, if not more. And also the traction that we get on our website. So in any given day, I can have 1,000 plus people who are just going over to the website, which means that my SEOs are really working. And so that's just in terms of measuring how I know that people are engaging, right? When it comes to the impact of what I'm doing, it's for me, it's the instant gratification that women have when they come to the events and what they tell me after, right? We follow up with a feedback form asking, okay, is there anything more that you need? How can we help you? How can we best serve you? How can we support you? Because ultimately that's what it is. Community is about really supporting and not just saying it and spewing it out the mouth, but really supporting and showing that in actions. And then just looking in terms of the trajectory of where we have business going, where we see business going for Boss Babes and Brunch, I will go into, we do have a membership that we are building up. And in that membership, what we're going to do is we're going to allow or welcome women who have businesses to come on board and kind of do something similar to what you and I are doing now, where they can host a Zoom meeting. They can talk about their business, and it's going to be solely focused on them using the Boss Babes and Brunch platform. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I think what you're bringing to the industry is powerful. I like to tend to remind people that I am a very good historian and very bad radio DJ. So let me stop, Kaylani. As people are listening here today and will be listening in the future, can you remind them where to follow you personally and also on your business page before I interject my very university and dorky comment about your impact?
Yes, absolutely. So again, you can follow me on Instagram, and that's at Boss Babes and Brunch _. You can also head over to our website, and that's just bossbabesandbrunch.com.
Fantastic. And I would encourage everyone who's listening on campus and off campus to follow you. I think that there's a lot of value and a lot of what I like to call economic restorative justice when we build what I call identity affirming business spaces. And I think that's because as a historian, which no one wants to hear about at any point, Kaylani, I am so very like aware of the opportunities that were sometimes not given to our ancestors, and how our lack of ability to influence what is understood as professional or the mainstream consumer business world influences our efficacy in the way that we see ourselves as successful. So I'm so excited that you're bringing all this positivity. I feel like affirmations are kind of part of your community too, right? Because you're so positive.
Absolutely. Affirmations are definitely part of the community. And then just in terms of what you said along the lines of like knowing that our ancestors perhaps didn't have the opportunities that we have now, I always like to say, I'm doing it to make my ancestors proud because I know that I'm fortunate now to have opportunities that weren't granted to them. However, I will say that they helped pave the way and shape where we are now and where we're headed. So we've got to give them
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And I've had the pleasure of interviewing an assemblyman, and part of his family's legacy is faith and service. And I literally looked at him and I was like, every Puerto Rican family in Buffalo has like their thing. And it's like
yeah.
whether they do quesitos or whatever. And it's almost like we have like this familial inclination to generate business ideas. And I feel like the strongest families are those who like really embrace their family members. So people ask me what I want to do next in my career, and I'm like, learn how to make flan, because my quesito game is strong. Forget my law degree. People want to know if I can make quesitos, Kayelani. So as I think about being very grateful to be part of your extended community, right? Because I want to be able to go to brunch. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to, but I definitely consider myself a fan and a supporter of your community. When you look back, including some of the ancestors that you talked about who inspired you, is there like one person both in your personal life and or in your business or like academic community that inspired you to be the leader that you are? Because convening 200 people from all across the tri-state and East Coast is pretty serious business.
Yeah, absolutely. When I think back to the long line of women that have just supported me in my life. And that goes, from my mom to my abuelita to my great abuelita, my titis, my cousins who are all females. And that's just the family aspect. And then I also go into the friends and like connections and teachers even. In high school, I had a dance teacher who absolutely inspired me. I still remember who my fourth grade teacher is. Which means that she impacted me in a way that allows me to still remember her. And I still have really great connections with a lot of those educators because they played such an important role in my life. In New York City, I did theater from probably, I would want to say 10 years old all the way to up until 18 years old. And just all of the women that came in and out of my life while I was pursuing this acting career. At the time, I thought I was going to make it big on Broadway. Little did I know I'd be stepping on stages as a motivational speaker now.
But we have room to make a Broadway play. I mean, we're here. Broadway's not going anywhere. They need more Latinas. That's so exciting though. And I love it. But I see that confidence in you, that like when you're on, you have that very professional, like trained acting. And we have a theater department here at SUNY Buffalo State, as well as, oh my gosh, as well as organizations in the community, like Piece of the City. I actually just did a review on one of their youth Shakespeareans. But I think a lot of people, and I'm so excited to touch on this, but also to ask you and wanting to be respectful of your time, because I know I have you for about 10 more minutes, but wanting to be respectful of the idea that also that those theater skills translate into business skills. And there's this huge economy around theater, around event management. We have a festival economy here. Could you, and I know that this isn't one of our scripted questions, but could you talk about some of the confidence that you have from your theater background as when you step in front of all those people, maybe like how those two things translate?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, like I said, I started when I was about 10 years old, and I started with a nonprofit organization called the 52nd Street Project. And what they did is that they bring community children together, right? Like house kitchen children together. And we start by writing our own plays, producing our own plays, performing in our own plays. And we work alongside of these really experienced actors and actresses. And then we just work our way up to the final or the finale, which is a youth Shakespeare play. I had the privilege of traveling to Texas to perform King Lear. And I was the beloved Reagan. And so it was just, stemming from that young age and knowing that they really instilled the confidence in me. We continued to work. I would go in every single day after school. And it was basically like my community. That was where I was probably 9 out of 10 times I was there after school. And just my mom always telling me also too, you are beautiful. You're Latina, which is a superpower in itself. You are made for hard things. And then one day, funny story, I Googled what my name means, and Kayelani actually is it indicates leadership. And so I carry that with me, right? Like, who does these things? But I carry that with me. And I just know that I'm meant for really hard things, and confidence is just something that I always exude no matter where I go.
Yeah, and that makes so much sense to me. I think I've shared with you, my dad's from the Lower East Side of Manhattan. So shout out to Rutgers Houses and all of the women who are coming from there, because those are the women that raised me, like that character, the spirit, the hustle of Manhattan, right? Which is, I think, so much of what I see in you, which is why I'm like, you would have been my friend if I didn't end up living in Buffalo, right? And I think there's a certain level of professionalism and like excellence that you bring that makes other women want to like meet you at that level, at least from my perspective. And I think that there's a lot of power in that, especially in the way that you share it on social media. So, as a reminder to everyone here, our audio is going to be shared on 91.3 WBNY, Buffalo's Original Alternative. We're going to be on LinkedIn. We're going to be on Instagram. So there's going to be a lot of places where people are going to be able to benefit from hearing your story of 52nd Street Project, which I'm obsessed with, obviously, now immediately.
Yes.
And shout out to the Henry Street Settlement and my cousin and many other people in my Latino family who've contributed to that dynamic nonprofit environment that is in New York City. I have 2 more questions for you. One is, do you have any advice for a young person? But I want to also add a caveat, right? Because it's August and we are a teacher's college and we have or teacher's university, sorry. And we have a lot of students who are looking at entering the classroom. So I would just want to ask you to answer the question in 2 lenses, right? Like, what advice you would have for a young person who's starting off their journey in business? And then second of all, what advice might you have for a young teacher or a young person that's going into an environment as a helping person who may be different from that community that they're serving?
Okay.
I know you got it. I'm like, I know you don't need a playback. You got this. You're from Manhattan.
Okay, so I would say, so just in the first part, answering the first part, any young person who's looking to get into business, I just say just go for it. And I know that is easier said than done, but believe enough in yourself to know that all of the things you've gone through in life have prepared you for what you're about to go through. And it's I don't know, it's easier said than done. You're always gonna, I guess, struggle also too. Like, entrepreneurship is not easy, but find that community. Once you find your community, you're golden. And never quit. Never, ever, ever quit. Just keep going, even when the going gets tough. And then in answering the second part of that question, I would say, as an educator, do the research and support the young adult who's looking to get into that business or into that field, and really shaping their community. Like, you are such an important role, or play such an important role in their journey. So being really impactful and giving them the tools that they need to continue to propel forward is super important.
Thank you. And I think that both of those comments are useful to me. I'm very selfish. I listen back to my own interviews, Kayelani, when I need inspiration. But I think there's something that you said throughout the interview that I think is going to stick with me, is you are made for hard things. Because I think the economic and both physical infrastructure of Manhattan is so dense that sometimes it can be in itself just standing there overwhelming. But the spirit that's kind of generated for people who live and flourish there, I think, is one that I'm always like in awe of. And we have so many students that come from all over the world, but very much many who come from downstate. So shout out to everybody who's moving into the dorms now with that spirit.
Yeah.
We're so excited to have you, and you're definitely going to find a home here in the West Side. So Kayelani, I just want to thank you for your patience in scheduling with me. I know that you're in the middle of planning an event. Thank you for all of the different ways I've reached out to you. I think I've emailed you, Instagrammed you. I think I've probably sent you a million different ways. I know you're a communications expert, so I'll definitely streamline that in the future. Would definitely be requesting of a physical interview. And just my last question as we close this space is if you had any questions for me about like our university or campus or any of my personal journey, but I'm just really, really excited to highlight your leadership and to encourage everybody to learn more about your organization and your coming professional network that you're building digitally, which is so cool. And I'm humbly begging to be a part of begging.
Well, I just want to say first, Talia, thank you so much for allowing me this space again. All the streams of communication that you used to get to me were effective. They were perfect. And I think that you did everything in your power to get me onto this live with you. And this interview with you. And I think it was amazing. Secondly, one of the questions that I always ask everyone is, how can I best support you? And where do you see yourself in the next 5 years growing, glowing, and going?
I'm not surprised that you're prepared with questions and they're significantly better than mine. So where do I see myself in the next 5 years? Definitely a part of the dynamic community that I feel like you're a part of. Like I've been able to step into digitally a group of amazing business people who are organizing and creating pathways of access and information in so many different communities. So I definitely want to be there. I definitely want to do more business writing, like write more commercially. I am a columnist, so I write Latina history. I'm on my 43rd feature, and those are circulated in Central and Western New York, right? So we're super excited about that. So growing my presence as a writer in service to our business community and to highlight professionals like you. I am also a mom, so I definitely see myself continuing to support my son's business, which is around identity affirming curriculum for Latino boys. He has his own kind of like brand and thing. And then also, here a part of the SUNY campus community, I went to SUNY Buffalo Law. I am part of the SUNY Buffalo State community right now. I went to SUNY Rockport for a semester. I went to SUNY Empire State. So definitely helping SUNY because I see SUNY, we have a small business office here, and Empire State has a campus in Manhattan. Like I want to see us doing what we are doing, which is like driving resources and providing like university media like we are here, and just like really kind of supporting the exciting business community that we have. So like I want to be a SUNY nerd that helps business. Just concisely, I think, right? Right. So not so much growth there, but definitely refining my skills and how I want to contribute, and continuing to hold media spaces, because I'm starting to realize the commercial value of just the spaces that we build, and also the ability for our community members to learn. Because again, I'm going to revisit this interview and I'm going to be happy to share it with other Latina leaders. So I would love to be able to write about you sometime in the future for Latina history and to interview you in person. But until then, I want to encourage everyone who's listening to follow you, to attend your event in Brooklyn at the end of the month. Yes, to be generally your fan, right? And to continue, I think, to live in kind of the spirit, like you said, like just kind of do it, right?
Do it. Just go for it. And yeah, so you can go ahead and check out all the information by visiting BossBabesBrunch.com. We have, sales up on there, and the event date is coming up, like I said, at the end of this month. So we're super excited. It's August 27th. And yeah, I'm excited.
Perfect. And shout out to all of the dynamic people who are building economy between Massachusetts, New York, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Florida, all of the places that we're movers and shakers. You are a national leader, Kayelani, and I'm really grateful and really just really, really, really grateful and really, really excited about watching your journey. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Talia.